and welcome to Onesies, a podcast of one season wonders and blunders. My name's Andrew.
My name is Emily.
And we are back discussing World of Giants, the
Ugh.
1959 wow.
Sci-fi,
Wow.
spy, thriller.
True story, as they tell us multiple times throughout the episode.
Oh my God. The end of this one. It really is everything you've been saying. Like, no, this really happened. These guys, these big guys, they don't know what's going on. Only I do.
Mel Hunter. Okay, so this is episode 4, Death Trap. Not a super great title for it, as it turns out.
No, because he's wandering through the jungle of somebody's garden. Not really a trap.
Yard. Nope.
Yeah.
A big yard, but maybe not. We only know it's big because there are 2 gardeners working on it, and it's unclear. So the episode begins, though, with Emily's favorite thing, when the FBI bosses are recapping the series. So,
but not just the series, just the premise of the series.
Right. So because there's no character development, so you don't have to recap the series.
Yeah, but they could be like, oh, remember that time that he had to do this, and remember that time he got attacked by a dog, and remember that time.
No, because they don't assume anybody's going to watch. He
climbed up that woman's skirt and looked at her underpants.
If only somebody got fired from writing the Ant-Man comic for making jokes about that. Anyway, so not that actually. He got fired for making jokes about going through dirty underwear, as opposed. Yeah. Anyway, okay. Moving on. Paul Rudd would never. So Michael Douglas, on the other hand, Michael Douglas is like, dude, this is.
He got cancer from eating pussy, right?
This role speaks to me somehow.
For some reason, the Michael Douglas getting cancer from eating pussy thing makes me laugh so much harder than any Richard Gere sort of rumors from the 80s and 90s. Like, he got cancer from eating too much pussy is the funniest thing ever. Sorry, that's an aside.
And he's your neighbor. So anyway, yeah. So the episode starts with the FBI boss hanging up the phone and being like, oh, so there's no results on the rocket fuel tests. And I was like, oh my God, are we talking about the fucking rocket fuel again? Yes, we are.
They do develop it a little bit more. Maybe I missed it because I'm a ding-dong dummy. But I didn't realize that Winters was also exposed to the jet fuel.
Yeah, I feel like that's a bit of a retcon. I mean, all we heard in the first place was that Winters was over behind the Iron Curtain with him, and they were partners. But even that doesn't seem...
So they throw that in there, then, that he has also been exposed to the jet fuel and has had no...
effects, which is not... Basically, what we got originally was sort of a... Mel was trapped somewhere by himself in the jet fuel, and it messed him up. And we've moved on from that to we're editing that. But the reason they're so concerned about this is because the military-industrial complex and globalized industry means that we're making all those rocket fuel things here. And the white people are worried that they also could get sick and shrink, and they're actually worried about that. So these, of course, would be Nazis that they had recruited from the Third Reich to make all of our stuff in Operation Paperclip, which, weird open secret we don't talk about, even though it was written about numerous times in many newspapers.
Do you really think that they'd have white guys working on this jet fuel project and not, like, I don't know, black guys, like Tuskegee Airmen type situation?
I mean, that they're definitely testing it on the black guys, but they're trying to make it safe for white guys is what they're trying to do. They're trying to make sure it's safe for white guys. No, I mean, they're probably dousing, New Mexico Hispanic natives that had lived there for 700 years. They're probably dousing them with it to see what happens realistically. Yeah. I mean, this could be a true story is what I'm saying. We don't know. Mel Hunter never came out. The series ends with him getting stepped on by Bill Winters because he's like, you know what, dude, you kind of fucking suck. And he's just like, squish. And that'd be okay because Mel shrinks and grows in this episode too.
Yeah, he does.
He's never 6 inches tall. I'm sorry. Like, all you need is a Ken doll to stand down there and you would know what the scale should be.
Yeah. There's also a funny scene in this. I don't think it's in this first scene, but it is back in the office where a third guy is introduced and he's doing kind of this thing with his hands where he's trying to make his hand 6 inches. And I was like, how big are your hands, sir?
Yeah, dude. I don't think so.
Like mine at most are 3.5. I don't know. What is that? You tell me.
Ask your husband.
I will.
Good. Okay. Moving on. He's gonna be so happy when he listens to this.
He doesn't listen.
Oh, shush. You're supposed to, the story, tell him that we just talk about how he's our editor and producer.
Okay.
But we just talk about it all the time. You're not gonna do that.
Nope.
You have to live with him. Okay. So we then cut to Bill. Okay, so the scene ends brilliantly. He's like, I'm expecting them to call in right away.
Yeah. Great transition.
Bill calls in from like a car radio and he's like, okay, we're done with our mission. Mel did a great job. Now it's time
except he's being belligerent. He's being pissy. And he's like, hey, what are you talking about?
And Bill's just like, you suck.
Yeah, a little
okay,
lover's
but
quarrel.
Then Mel whines about going into his little briefcase of Barbie dolls. We actually do find out there's other shit in there. Bill keeps a newspaper, a ruler, and a pencil in there, and the ruler the pencil almost impales Mel, and we don't really do anything with that. But like, yes, so they're almost immediately in a car accident. We never find out what happens to the other car. We don't see they don't have ambulance driving up money. Not when actual Hollywood director Byron Haskin was like, we're going to need some crane shots. And they were like, crane shots? And he's like, crane shots on the sets. And they're like, crane shots on the sets. And yes, this has the most detailed, I would say, small world we've had.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that. Okay. So the giant acorns, like, good God. That was a lot of work.
It reminded me a lot of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. It was very.
Yes. I think there might have even been matte paintings. Like, I think they might have gone all out in the shed. I think they weren't willing to make a giant rake for a background. So we catch up with. They have a car accident. We go back to the office where the FBI guys are like, "Oh shit." Or no, do they even know yet? They must, because
he gets a phone call and it's like, oh, Bill's been in a car accident. He's in the hospital. We have to go find Mel. They couldn't find the briefcase. We have to go find Mel. Yeah.
They didn't look very hard because he's in the yard right where right next to the accident.
Yeah.
Mel wakes up, has to free himself from his briefcase, chair and breathing thing,
which he's done before, and I feel like when he did it before it wasn't as difficult. In the last episode with the lady, and he's climbing out of the briefcase to try to get into her purse, he pulls those things out very easily. It's not hard in this, but it's like it just seems like it's belabored a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they got to get to that 25 minutes. This is a rough one. Yeah. I mean, we are going to use the same 3-second footage of a squirrel 75 times. Spoiler, folks. Regardless of where the squirrel's supposed to be. Outside, inside, in a fucking hole, wherever.
It's so cute. Aww.
It is, and it doesn't get abused on screen, physically abused that we could see on screen.
I was waiting for it. I tell you. I was waiting to watch that thing get its head chopped off. Oh my God. It was going to be so grotesque and I was going to scream at you. You are so lucky that I'm not screaming at you right now.
Okay.
For making me watch animals get abused.
You were so excited for this show. Okay. So were excited for this. You were excited for, what was that other one? Going to extremes. And then we just learned. Then we just learned our damn lesson, don't we?
I learn that Andrew tries to pick shows that might be good and they end up being terrible.
I'm sorry. Free Spirit was all about Corinne Bohr, who you love, basically helping teen and tween age boys murder young women after they have assaulted them, is what that show's about.
She wouldn't do that now, though.
It's a spectrum. No, she wouldn't. Okay, moving on. Talking about your neighbors again. So yes, so he's got to get to he's going to go to the shed, and he's like, from there I can see the road. And I'm like,
that was confusing to me.
Thank you.
Because yes, it gets him out from the grass, which is
scary.
It's tall and scary. It's a foot tall. I mean, if we're going by scale, the grass maybe even taller. So those gardeners need to do better work, is all I'm saying.
Well, clearly, Ollie, the one gardener, is not doing a good job. Ollie is standing around going, see a car accident every day.
No,
and the other guy's like, Ollie, get to work.
I don't know what, like the shed, yes, there's no high grass in it, but it's not high off the ground. He doesn't have to climb any steps to get to it. So I don't understand why that would get him a better vantage point.
I assumed he was going
to... When he actually does see the car and he's like coming out of a hole in the ground.
Yeah. How do they find him, Emily?
We don't know.
Right. That's just about how he was going to signal them. Right. We could have this great thing where he goes into the shed and he has to climb up on the work table and figure out a way to make a flare, shoot off the flare, getting the attention of the FBI agents come to rescue him. That's not the show we're watching. We're watching a show about him being scared of being in the grass because he's never been in a situation like that, except the time that he was on the show. Then they have a plan for this, right? They have contingency plans or whatever, but they're terrible plans. And Mel whines about them the whole time in his narration. But he's got to it's like Frogger, except he's hiding from the gardeners. And I don't know why he would assume they would be paying any attention to him because they're idiots, both of them.
Yeah. And Ollie, whatever, give him a break. That guy who's shouting at him the whole time,
he sucks.
What an asshole.
He's an asshole.
All I kept thinking is they must have him doing this for a reason. And it must be so that Mel can kind of keep track of where the humans are. So he can hide from them if they get too close. Like, that's the only reason I can think of it. But even that doesn't really.
I think the reason is because it's bad.
It's so bad. That poor Ollie is just constantly getting yelled at. Get off his fucking tip, man.
Ollie's got to go into the shed for something. Mel's like, oh, there's a shed. I should go in there.
The gopher trap.
The gopher trap. We set up gopher traps. So there's a bunch of gopher holes. I was really hoping we were going to have golf, like a giant golf ball coming at Mel. Like I was hoping to be Raiders of the Lost Ark. I was hoping gophers. There are no gophers. Yeah.
And I just kept thinking, like, could they not get a real gopher and that's why they got a squirrel instead?
Yes. Especially.
And then, so why didn't they just change it? Why didn't they just change it to squirrel? Squirrels can live underground.
Not that much, right? Ground squirrels.
I've seen squirrels underground in Indiana.
Okay. When you were
USA
spelunking or something?
No, they're just all over campus and they would pop out of holes in the ground.
Are you sure those weren't gophers or groundhogs?
Pretty sure.
Okay. Squirrelologist. I'm not going to argue.
I'm just saying it was the one thing about the squirrel I did find interesting in the hole is that they clearly had like an ant farm, but they dug a big hole so they could shoot the squirrel kind of climbing through the hole. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Byron Haskin the whole time being like, I used to fucking make movies. Would you just do it? Shut up. Do it. Put a treat down there for the squirrel. Do it. Oh my God. Yeah. I directed War of the Worlds. Put a treat down there for the fucking squirrel. Okay. I have no idea if that's an accurate thing. Never read anything about Byron Haskin. But this was before he made that Robinson Crusoe movie on Mars that people like and sucks. Okay. So then there's Mel has to hide in a leaf pile, which seems like a stupid idea, but it's even stupider because it's going to be a waste of 3 minutes where Ollie comes over, lights up a cigarette, and we've already seen Ollie put out a cigarette in the shed and stomp it out because that's what foreshadowing is. So this time, Ollie lights a cigarette and he just drops his match in the leaf pile, setting it on fire when Mel is in there.
I was hoping for more from this. I was hoping for like shots of him inside the leaf pile trying to climb away from the smoke. All we get is him complaining about the fire and about how he's choking, but he's not actually coughing or doing any kind of choking. And then he just escapes.
White guys are such bad actors. It's so funny how bad some white guys are in acting, especially in this era. Like the mid 50s to the, I don't know, 1974. It was fucking rough acting. Anyway, so he whines about that. Ollie finally gets yelled at again, so he leaves the burning fire, which would continue to burn even as the episode continues, but no longer has anything to do with it. He never puts it out. I was waiting for him to stomp it out, and Mel would have to dodge the stomp.
I was waiting for that too.
Boot money. We don't have giant boot money. Come on now. And then Mel goes and gets into the shed. Now, when Ollie was in there before, we had also had a shot, an ominous shot of all the acorns on the ground.
Yes.
That was because there's a squirrel. I think we might have seen the squirrel in there when Ollie was in there.
Yeah, we did. And it was totally setting it up.
Yeah, but we didn't know how territorial it was going to be because Mel tries to take a nap on acorns, which I'm pretty sure is a really stupid idea. But they had all those acorns made, so damn it, we're going to do it. Now, mind you, he's supposed to be waiting for his rescue party and keeping a lookout. And he's sleeping on the floor of a shed that at best has 2 windows. Greatest secret agent the United States has, which point seems about accurate given how things went. So, oh my God, what if the last episode is them doing Bay of Pigs? And then was Shay still alive then? And then Mel hides in disguise in a cigar, and he gets smoked, and that's how he dies. Mel dies screaming, and nobody can hear him because there's a siren going off, and Bill's being interrogated at the table and just watching it going, I mean, it's all right. I don't care. Help me. Okay, that's the better ending, regardless of what episode 13 is. Okay.
I think it should. Never mind. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, you were going to say a sex thing.
I wasn't going to say a sex thing.
She was. Mm-hmm.
I don't talk about sex with you. Gross.
Okay. She watched The Boys.
I didn't watch The Boys.
You should watch The Boys. You'd see so many things.
Carl Urban or whatever his name is. I love him. He's a super babe.
Okay. But then what happens? Then the squirrel shows up and Mel's got to run from the squirrel.
And he runs a couple of times. So let me just say, he keeps calling the squirrel a grizzly. He keeps comparing the squirrel to a grizzly. He never actually calls it a squirrel, number one. And it made me curious about a number of things. Did they not know that they couldn't get a gopher and they had to use a squirrel? And so they just had the voiceover be talking about a grizzly, like the size of the thing, never actually referring to the animal. But also, it's the cutest damn squirrel. There's this hilarious Foley work whenever they show a close-up of the squirrel, again, trying to make it look big and scary. It's just a cute little squirrel wrinkling its nose up, and then it's going...
Oh, yeah, when it gets mad at him, it's so adorable.
It's so cute. It's so cute. I was rooting for the squirrel. I was rooting for the squirrel.
I was too.
But also squirrels are not carnivorous and would pose no danger to him.
Not really, no. The squirrel scared him away from the acorns. That's about it.
Yeah.
The better show is Mel and the squirrel become friends and he can ride the squirrel around like a tauntaun.
Isn't that what we wanted him to do with the dog and with the possum?
Yes, there's a theme here. There's a theme.
It becomes like a children's like fantasy story where he's like communing with animals.
He's a white man. He hates animals. Only that's a girly thing. He's a man. Maybe the commies do that. So then somehow they get outside. The gardeners have put down the gopher trap, and so we've gotten a setup on that. Mel has a lengthy sequence where he's leading the squirrel through the gopher tunnel, and he's planning on snapping its head off. And he's like excited about how he's going to do this. And then instead it just scares the squirrel away.
Well, no. So he climbs over the trap, careful not to trigger it. He gets up to the top of the second hole. And before the squirrel gets to it, he reaches over and sets the trap to scare it away. So he doesn't want to watch it get impaled.
Okay.
His plan was to trigger the trap to scare the squirrel away.
Okay.
But what would happen after that if the FBI don't show up? Then you are a 6-inch tall man laying on the ground above a gopher hole, having set off a trap that presumably the adult human beings could hear. Then you have to run away again.
Yeah.
And find yourself in potential other danger. I was also disappointed that there were no insects.
Yep. I bet there are no insects the whole series. That's way too expensive.
Yeah, but I was, again, thinking Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah. Much better.
Yeah.
Production. So then I was like, oh my God, they're not even going to fucking show him get rescued. They're not even going to deal with it. And I was like, I knew it was coming. And I was like, do it. Fade, fuckers, fade. And fade they do.
And it was infuriating to me too, because he removed himself from the briefcase. So if they found the briefcase, they would still have to look for Mel.
Yep.
And how is he going to flag them down? How is he going to do it without the gardeners seeing him?
Yep.
Like,
how did any of that other drama occur?
When can I see a cheap foam hand lifting him up?
Never.
That's all I want. Or a real adult grown hand with a little doll in it. Like, that's all I want. That.
We might have gotten a paper doll again. There was one shot of him sitting on something, an over the shoulder long shot, I think in the car, where I'm like, he was like sitting on the briefcase in the car, and I'm like, all you worry about is falling down, and you do shit like this. Like, you're an idiot. He's being
belligerent. So
he is. So, and we missed it, but we do check in on Bill at the hospital where there is actually another lady. And he's like, oh, where's Mel? And that's about it.
But the only line that she has is her being shrill.
Well,
don't stay here for too long. He's got to rest and recover.
Well,
or whatever she says.
Well,
I mean, it's good advice, but she's just kind of mean about it. She's not being understanding and caring.
Is there a sympathetic portrayal of a nurse in a movie or television? Oh, no, that was in the late 60s. I feel like nurses became mean and shrill in the 50s.
Maybe.
So, but yes, so then we get somebody saying that everybody's okay and the adventure is over. No details on the rescue. And that's
Cut to Mel, and he talks about how these guys don't understand what's going on. I'm not going to bother them with my troubles because it doesn't impact them at all.
And I need to realize if I want to participate in this world, I need to accommodate them.
Welcome to being a woman.
Is he a metaphor for like a minority? Were they like, we should make a movie. We should make a show for kids that'll teach them to really, respect white men more.
Oh, boy.
You really need to center old white men.
More, yeah.
More. In 1959. They were having it really rough in 59.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyway, it was quick. It was quick and dirty.
yep. Not really, though, because Mel didn't get dirty at all this episode, not like last
Yeah.
episode. They weren't willing to pay for, they didn't have wet clothes money this episode.
Yeah, and he climbed in a puddle.
Yeah, he did.
We never saw him be wet. I'm just realizing that.
No,
That sucks.
no. It was dry as Ben Shapiro's wife's.
Woo!
Well, folks,
All right. Well,
what have we got next week? Yes.
What do we got next week? Boy, oh boy.
Marsha Henderson's going to be on the show, not Florence Henderson. I'm bummed.
Oh,
And it's next week. Okay.
yeah.
Oh, and Barry Kroger's on next week. Oh, and it's Nathan Jurin, director of, wait for it, the Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. So he's done miniatures before. The Boy Who Cried Werewolf in 72. Still haven't seen that. First Men in the Moon, Jack the Giant Killer, Flight of the Lost Balloon. So he was sort of, and Attack of the 50-Foot Woman was 58. So this is, he's
on the heels of that.
He's on his rise here. So we shall see.
So episode 5 is called The Gambling Story, folks. The Gambling Story. Some apparently familiar names to Andrew. I do not recognize any of them. I do recognize Attack of the 50-Foot Woman.
I don't actually recognize Marsha Henderson. I thought it was Mrs. Brady. But Barry Kroger was in Gun Crazy and some other stuff. So, including Young Frankenstein. And Get Smart. So he worked
Get Smart.
He worked it. And then Ivan Trousseau of Notorious and The Bad and the Beautiful and Batman, the show, and Batman the movie as different characters. Wow.
Like he's going to be the Adam West Batman movie?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. I bet he's really good. Yes. So, yeah. Okay. Gambling Story. Wow. So
it has nothing to do with gambling.
Is it? Okay. I predict.
Oh, maybe it does.
Mel's going to be locked in the hotel room or something because we're not paying for a giant slot machine, are we?
Or a giant roulette wheel.
Yeah. I bet we don't do a giant anything casino related.
No, we'll just get shots of roulette wheels.
Yeah.
Close up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we'll have to see if Bill likes the lady, if Bill is polite to the lady, so Mel assumes that Bill is going to marry her. Oh, okay. Well,
thank you all for joining us. See you next week when we talk about Gambling Story, episode 5 of World of Giants. Andrew, see you in Television Land.
See you in Television Land, Emily.